Okay, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to 9WERKS Radio. Welcome to the last episode of the series, the last episode of 2023.
2023.
That is the dulcet tones of Andy Brooks you can hear over the other side of the table.
Good day.
Excellent. We're also recording this for 9WERKS TV alongside 9WERKS Radio. So if you're watching on 9WERKS TV, you'll see in between Andy and I, as the two stalwarts or bookends of the operation, we have two very, very special people. It's a privilege to have you on the airwaves today. We've got Toby Dyer, first of all.
Hello. Yes, that's me.
That's you.
Our first ever supporter. Would you believe it?
Patreon.
Number one.
Yeah.
Numero uno.
I had to look it up. And I said, Patreon, what's that? I had no idea what it was.
What it was, yeah.
Yeah, and it said subscribe or something like that.
Yeah.
I thought, what's that do? So I clicked that and,
It was a mistake.
And I thought, that's a mistake, damn. Yeah, I now signed up.
A
And then before I
beautiful
knew
mistake.
it, you announced me on the next podcast, hey, we have a subscriber. I was like, okay, I can't unsign up now.
Yeah.
No,
So
you're joking.
Basically, this mess is all your fault. Quickly followed by Nick Moder sitting next to me.
It was number 2.
Hello. Yes, I didn't realise what I was pressing either at the time. I thought he was pressing for more information.
That's incredible. That's incredible.
I love it. I love it.
So we're so we've invited you along, Nick. We're in your house.
Yes, yeah, well,
We've invited
Thanks.
ourselves.
Yeah, it's thanks for inviting us to your house. But we thought we'd do a podcast with numero uno and number 2, whatever number 2 is in Spanish. Not sure at this point. Dos. Yeah, there we go. Numero dos. We are nevertheless grateful, and we thought it'd be really nice to look back with our first and second ever Patreons on 2023, really, from a Porsche perspective, of course.
Yeah, by the way, can I just say, for the benefit of the people looking, they did tell me it was Christmas jumpers.
yeah, same here. Two of us are celebrating Christmas. We'll leave you to work out who the other two
I
are.
left the bag of Christmas jumpers at home.
We have been embarrassed in the clothing department, I would say. There.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just thought you always wore that, Toby. To be honest, yeah. It's basically the same format as we did for 2022.
Yeah, it worked then, so why not revisit it?
Yeah, so we've got a number of questions to ask ourselves, really, and then maybe at the end, for people listening, if you'd like to contribute what your Porsche year looked like, to pop it on our social media channels. We'll pop some bits and pieces up throughout the week once this goes live, which will be the week before Christmas, really. And yeah, let us know what that looked like for you, because there's lots going on globally, not just in the UK. So we'll do that. So what does the year look like? We're going to find out with questions including what was our highlight of the year, our favourite show, our best trip, our best individual drive, our biggest surprise, best car driven, best podcast episode. Could be this one. Who knows?
A bit preemptive.
Stop shaking your head, Nick. Best mod, and then next year I will. Which is, a New Year's resolution, really, is the way to look at that.
Sounds good.
So we shall dive in. Andy, which question would you like to dive in with first?
Should we start at the top with the event?
Okay, yeah.
You're actually thinking about it. You got no idea what your best event is, but let's go for it, and you can mull over as we go.
Yes, good idea. Yes, the only one I've struggled with, because there are so many candidates. We are so lucky. I think we realised this when we went to the States in the summer. We have so many events. We're a small island, and we're almost saturated with so many top quality gatherings.
Yeah.
Which is a fantastic headache to have,
Absolutely.
So it's kind of hard to narrow it down to one, I would say.
And I think a couple of last 2 years since COVID, of course, we shut everything down.
Yeah.
We've had an avalanche
Absolutely,
since, haven't we?
yeah.
Which has been fantastic.
Yeah. It's almost been a bit scary what to pick, so that you still got a family when you get home, because there's so much going on.
Yeah.
But there's fear of missing out as well.
Yeah.
There's so much going on.
Yeah.
But whereas, like we discussed on last week's podcast with the marketplace chat, the sales specialist there was saying about how, as a consequence of COVID, everybody assumed this kind of carpe diem attitude and were buying cars. And people in that industry, in the car dealership industry, inside and outside Porsche, have done very well since COVID. Have had fantastic years where people have bought into that, again, live once, kind of seize the day mantra. But that has slowed down now, of course. However, with the events, I feel like it hasn't slowed down. So we're all allowed out again after lockdown. Spoilt for choice, is plethora of events nationwide and beyond. and that just has not slowed down. So every weekend there are multiple events to choose from, which, as I said, is fantastic. There's so much to choose from. But picking a best is quite difficult for me currently. I don't know what you guys think. Maybe, Andy, do you want to
Yeah,
go
so
first?
I start off, I've got a little short list that I put together, things that came to my mind initially. I mean, it would have been very easy just to say Rennsport Reunion because, that was pretty epic. But I thought I'd rein back from that. There was 4 events that came to my mind as ones that I really enjoyed. 2 of them were actually ones that we put on ourselves. First one would be the 993 event. It's just epic, I thought. And I think we did really well putting that together. Quite a small event that we put on when we were up in Yorkshire, which we did a visit to EB Motorsport. Just a very small group. I think there was 12 or 13 of us, but EB put on such a great show, and it was so interesting to see their company. Really, that it was a proper highlight for me because the quality of work that they do. And we got to see all of the detail of what they do. It was really cool. Another, coming back to last year, I think our event that we picked was Flat 6 overall. The Goodwood one. I think we were really enthused about that. Again, it was amazing this year. And we put on a great show there. We had actually a show within a show. I think we had 30 odd cars on that bit of green at the end. Loved actually creating that and sort of adding to the show, and it was a great show overall again. And then the other one that I've got on my list is Megaphonics, which I thoroughly enjoy. There's a little bit of a sort of, I wouldn't say backlash against it, but it's not always the most loved shows, but it appeals to me from an air-cooled point of view. So those are my sort of short list. I think I'm going to probably go for EB Motorsport as my favourite little. I absolutely loved that, and thank the guys at EB for helping us put that on.
Yeah, you did go missing for a bit that morning.
Did I?
We had a small group. It was the day after our Fried Eggs and Friends at Porsche Sheffield. So we did a little drive and then ended up at EB. And I would say there was 20 of us, very small group.
Yeah.
And it was just like, where's Andy? And then you'd look and he'd be in various places of the workshop, heading...
Digging around.
In shelves, in cupboards, under cars, having a good old look around. You were just
great.
absorbing which is fantastic. That's what it's all for, right?
Yeah.
But you that was definitely appealing to like the
to me.
I'm trying to think of the right word, like wrenchman vibe or whatever it is. So very cool.
Yeah, it's proper good.
Engineer Andy came out.
It did full on. Yeah. How about you, Toby? What was your event of the year?
Oh,
difficult one because you had a lot of
cancellations.
A lot of cancellations.
I don't want to say no shows.
Beginning of the year, I get my calendar and I find all the events. I've got a Google Calendar and I overlay it with this car event calendar and I just fill it with every event on, and then I go and buy tickets for all the ones I think I can go to. So at least I've got them in the plan.
Yeah.
And then if I can go, great.
Yeah.
But sometimes family events get in the way. Or like you say earlier, you're just being a bit over keen on events and maybe you shouldn't go out again for the second time on the weekend.
Hint, hint.
So but again, I do offer the tickets up and they do get used, so they don't go to waste. But I think for me, I listed 5 major events. Porsche's by the Lake.
Oh God, I forgot about Porsche by the Lake. That was fantastic.
Was awesome. I really enjoyed that one. The 9WERKS mid-engines down in Bournemouth, OBC. I really enjoyed that.
Forgot about that as well.
Back in sunny May.
Yeah.
That was really good. Megaphonics, I went for the first time this year.
Was that your first time?
Yeah, because normally it's in August, and normally family holidays, etc. But I was going up north, and I popped in on the way, had a ticket.
Yeah.
But really enjoyed that.
Yeah.
I met loads of cool people. And then Simply Porsche. I like it. Okay. I really like that event. I know, again, some people don't. Loads of Porsches in the field, food is rubbish, etc. But actually, I meet loads of cool people, and it's always sunny when I go. So I quite like going down there.
That's funny because it's an event that's not within half an hour of my house, so I'm not frequent.
You don't go, do you?
No,
I quite like that one.
I've been a few times in the past, but Mate, I'll revisit it this year.
I like it.
Yeah.
It's easy,
Right, I'll
easy
see you then.
going.
I'll see you then for a
Really?
coffee.
This is all recorded.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Fair enough.
And then Festival Porsche at Brands Hatch. Yeah, I thought that was good. But it has to be, for me, Porsches by the Lake. You know, I thought that was awesome.
Yeah.
It was so well curated.
I've forgotten about it. Well, how did I forget?
So many good cars, so many good people. Yourselves were there with the red carpet.
Yeah, that worked well.
That was awesome. So, yeah, no, fantastic. Loved it. It was great.
Yeah.
Looking forward to it next year. I think Guy already shared the date for next year.
Yeah.
I put it in my calendar already.
Good.
Nice. Yeah, it's great shout. Great shout, Toby. What about you, Nick?
Well, a bit like Toby, beginning of the year, January, I'd got everything diarised. I didn't buy all the tickets, I must admit, like you, but I had a plan. But sadly, for people who know, I had a medical emergency which unexpectedly just took me out of everything for about 5 months from February. So my calendar clearly was gone. So I don't have many events to choose from, but I did manage to get to some events. To be honest, the top of the list for me was Flat 6.
Yeah.
That was my first time there, and I think having the cars on the track as well.
Yeah, adds to the experience, doesn't it?
It just had a very nice atmosphere.
Yeah.
Before then, I'd go to Goodwood quite a lot, but only for the big events.
Yeah.
This was at Goodwood at an intimate event.
Yeah.
A completely different scale, isn't it?
It's such a relaxed vibe about it.
Completely, yeah. Goodwood's good at any time, obviously. But
Was that different to last year? Because the Flat 6 was my top event for last year, and I couldn't make it this year. How did that compare?
It was a similar event.
The weather was very different.
We had there was a big bit of rain, sort of midday-ish, wasn't there? But otherwise, it was quite nice. It wasn't crazy hot like it was the year before. That was pretty exceptional.
I would describe it as the weather was changing. It was similar to last year, Toby.
Yeah.
And that's not to be taken as a bad thing. You know, like it sometimes if you've got a good formula, don't break it. You know, and just don't turn it into something it doesn't need to be. I think Flat 6 delivered in year 2 everything that it gave us in year 1. I think there was a little bit more of a community feel, certainly from our end, where we had like a few cars. There was just an easier place for people to meet. But like outside of that, it again represented an echelon of the community that perhaps sometimes isn't given the space or the freedom in the same way. And again, having the track day alongside it, as you rightly pointed out, Nick, it just adds that third dimension to the event, which is really cool. So, and that's what it gave us in year 1, you know. So it was again a pleasure to be a part of that, to be honest.
Yeah,
well, it makes it a different type of event, right?
Yeah,
which gives it something a bit special and a bit different.
Yeah.
That was the first time we used this kit, wasn't it? Actually,
think so. Yeah,
because we got it for that event, so we did a live podcast there as well. Which was baptism of fire.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Yeah, it was good.
So I think was my first time at Flat 6 was just the archetypal Porsche event for me.
Yeah.
It was relatively new on the scene.
It's a nice scale. That's my sort of thing.
Yeah.
You can get round it all. All the people that you want to see are there. It's just right. Yeah.
But I was following Porsche by the Lake online and what have you. I thought that looked fantastic, actually.
Yeah.
I think what I really enjoyed about Flat 6 last year was the modded side of it.
Yeah.
Controversial or not, but you go to some of these events. I mentioned maybe Festival Porsche, brands that's more Porsche Club GB.
Purists.
I do like to mod mine a little bit. Right? Yeah. So I appreciate the stock stuff, brilliant, but I do also appreciate people who've gone a bit off piste, and I think to celebrate that, I think is brilliant. Ideally, you have an event which celebrates both, but typically you tend to go into one direction or another. But Flat 6 for me, with that sort of modified part of the scene, I thought was really cool.
Yeah. But isn't that the beauty of what Lee just said earlier, which is we have so many events catering for so many different layers, if you like, of the Porsche scene that you can do modded or you can do, stock, etc. So that's the beauty.
So many niches, and that's kind of what I was referring to a couple of minutes ago. And I was saying, like, it's the modded crowd, really. It gives the modded crowd a platform that perhaps elsewhere, I think, as you alluded to, Toby, with other events, that sort of stuff isn't seen or maybe even not celebrated as much as what it is at Flat 6. So I think that's what's unique about Flat 6, and what I think should always be the case for it,
Yeah. And I love that. I mean, I think yourself as well. I came out through VWs, You know, so that scene, I never got heavily into it, but I really, really enjoyed that side of the whole VW scene. Then I got into BMs and I sort of lost that. And then coming back into the Porsche scene is like, when I came into that scene, I was like, oh, wow, there's people like me. This is not unusual.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
I can feel comfortable enough to wear my Christmas jumper around these guys.
All year round.
I just want to echo Toby's sentiments for an event. I think in running over what we did, or what I attended, I think for me, Porsche's by the Lake, just because it was so different. We said at the time to James and Guy and Andy and the team that run that, again, exceptional and offered something different. I know, obviously, as you said, there are plans for next year. Don't really know what that looks like. We would love to be there, by the way, in some capacity.
Yeah.
Put that out there. But I'm sure we will. I'm sure we'll do something. But again, just offered something very different. It's very relaxed. I don't know, maybe it was being by the water. Just everybody was very relaxed, very chill vibe. Yeah. The weather helped, of course.
Yeah, great weather, wasn't it?
But yeah,
I really enjoyed putting our little thing on that we did on the red carpet. It was good.
That was good.
Good fun.
Yeah. It was good.
And we had
fun,
some
wasn't
technical
it?
issues
Are
that
you
day.
not sure?
I know.
sure?
I just didn't know half the time if it was working or not.
Yeah,
Do you know what I
yeah,
mean?
yeah.
And also, there's always something that goes through your head where, because we kept doing it in stages, didn't we? So we'd do like an hour and then stop, have a coffee, have a chat, whatever, and then kind of go again. And there's always that bit in your brain where you're going, right, afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, where you think, is there a couple of hundred people here thinking, just shut the fuck up? Do you know what I mean?
Definitely not.
I
No.
liked it. I really enjoyed
I
it.
don't know, I think
good.
it's my imposter syndrome.
I
But
think
yeah.
you know, this year we'll have a queue of people that want to do it, because it was almost a kind of the first time we've done it, and everybody was a bit like, oh, I don't know if I want to be involved with this lot.
Yeah.
By the end, you had
By
a
the
queue.
end, we had a queue, and we couldn't stop people adding on to the end of the queue.
Well, on that note, there were the guys, and I didn't realise we'd literally run out of time. We couldn't go anymore. So the guys, so they drove their cars round, and then would drive onto our little red carpet. We'd gone halves with the guys from from Porsche's by the Lake to have this kind of lighting rig there. So the cars would be looking resplendent under there. The owners would talk through the car, etc. That was really nice. They were all kind of personal stories, etc. However, at the back of the queue, and one of the cars we didn't get on, were the guys from the RNLI doing like the charity run.
Yeah.
And I only
Yeah, it
found
would've
that out afterwards. So I was really gutted, considering like, you know, it wasn't for them, it was for a good cause. So, you know, that was an unfortunate regret, but a regret nevertheless.
Well, I think we've learnt lots, and we'll get it right this year.
Yeah.
Is that the 991 with all the stickers all over it? I see it all over the place.
Yeah.
I'd love to chat to those guys.
Yeah. It is, yeah. Maybe it's a guest for next year.
Yeah.
for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
podcast, you know. But that's that was
let's do that.
That would be it. But yeah, Porsche's by the Lake for being very different. So congrats to everybody that put on events last year. For something that we did, I really enjoyed the warehouse thing back in January.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was our first podcast recording of the year. You were there,
Yeah, it
Tony,
was.
actually, weren't you? Yeah, your
Yeah.
car was inside. Like, again, you know, just really cool to see cars in somewhere you wouldn't normally associate. It was January, which if you're an international listener, it's usually Baltic in the UK at that time. So we could stick the cars inside, which meant the event was on regardless of the weather. The guys at Heritage Park Centre were superb, offering us their space. And indeed their coffee as well. And we recorded a live podcast basically from their staff room with all the DNHC. So that was good fun, I think, for something that we did.
It's a cool venue as well, with the cars parked inside.
Yeah.
It's super cool.
Really cool. I'm hoping we can do something again next year, just again to have a nice event while the cars would normally be off the road.
That's the second one you've had there. You had the 996 celebration the previous year.
Yeah. But for an indoor thing, do you know what I mean? So we're like that template of like, 9WERKS at the warehouse, we called it. It'd be nice to kind of do that again. So talks are in discussions with the guys at Heritage Park, so we'll see. But
Cool.
grand. All right, well, that's show or events. We're going to move on to trip next. So I guess that, Andy, is road trip of some description.
I've got two in my list, which is Rensport and Wales.
Yeah.
Oh.
And I'm going to stick with Wales, I think, because I just drove the nuts off of what was new to me SC at the time, and totally bonded with that car. And
I was going to say that was your bonding moment with
absolutely, yeah. It was an epic weekend. So if you can get on to the next trip. I think we're fully booked already, are we?
Well, yeah, we are for Wales, or any trip, to be honest.
Yeah,
It doesn't have to be one of ours. Just
get on and do it. Yeah.
It's a great way to acclimatise to your car, get accustomed to it, and bond with it, as you said. And usually after a road trip, you'll come away either understanding how much you love and appreciate the car,
or hate it,
or understanding, quite definitively that it's not the car for you and you need to sell it. Definitely, so it's so worth doing.
Yeah.
So worth doing.
And we had such a good crew that weekend. It was brilliant.
But do I remember a small controversy between the two of you, Andy and Lee, at the time? Which was,
what was that?
We nearly met head on, didn't we?
Oh my God! Yeah. Jeez.
Sorry, I wasn't referring to that. I thought I'd read somewhere or heard somewhere. You'd just bought your SC at the time, and of course you had your 993 as well.
Yes, at the time I did.
Yeah. And I think you wanted to, Andy, you wanted to take your SC because try it out.
Yeah.
With it. I thought, Lee, you said to him, no, actually, take the 993.
I think you're right.
Or a last blast or something like that. Or am I imagining that?
No, yeah,
that
you did
was
right.
No, I think you're
I was
right.
thinking there.
I was very much team 993 because you were umming and ahhing. You weren't sure if you were going to sell the 993 or not.
Yeah.
And I was saying, much for the sentiments I've just said, have that as a last roll of the dice to see how you get on with the 993 because you'd spent a lot of time, effort, money building the car, but hadn't really gone for a proper drive. And I distinguish a proper drive as a road trip.
Yeah.
So that was
we'd been up into Yorkshire a few weekends before, so I felt that I was ready to.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But you were quite right, Nick. Yeah, there was that.
I wasn't imagining it.
No.
No. That's fine. That's not
Ready
at
to
all.
let go. That must have been a bit of a difficult decision, though.
No,
really?
not after that weekend. No, I was there, ready to do it. Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
No
good.
regrets. No.
Absolutely zero. No.
Oh,
Yeah, it was the right decision.
excellent.
Yeah, it
Very
all
good.
worked out well.
That's good.
Yeah. Definitely.
Well, that car found you. I don't know if that
It did kind of.
really.
Yeah.
Right? It was made for you. That car.
Yeah.
You know, with the
very lucky to
was it the location just down the road?
within 10 miles of home. Yeah.
Fellow engineering type owner for 15 years, was it, or something?
17, 18 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty mental.
Yeah.
I remember someone lumped that car on the DNHC WhatsApp group,
That was me.
as people often do.
Yeah, it was, yeah, it was,
Was
it
it
was,
you?
yeah.
Right, you nearly scuppered Andy's nose.
He was like, no!
Yeah. I think the engine's about to let go. Just anything. Put people off.
Nice.
It's like, here's a nice car. Anyone fancy it? I think it was Max. Max, maybe this is one for you.
Yeah,
And
I
he's
think-
like, no!
No. I'm going to see it in the morning. No, I'm
Pretty much
first. I'm first.
had to Bugsy it or shotgun it. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah,
No one.
definitely.
I've got first dibs on this
Yeah,
car.
I've got first dibs. Yeah, I
As
was
soon as I
quite-
saw that, it was like, that was like an awesome car for someone.
Yeah, it was good. Right then.
So road trip was Wales for you.
Yeah, Wales for me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which you were on, Toby, until the last. How is the dog now?
Oh, yes,
Yeah.
the dog. So the day before, I was going to take my 993 on that trip.
Yeah.
And then I have my 993, the original alarm fob, ancient thing.
Oh, yeah.
Decided not to work, so I couldn't unlock the car.
I remember the
And I was
panic.
running around trying to find a battery. Of course, it's got a special battery.
Yeah, it's weird voltage, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, I couldn't get it anywhere. So I was literally running around Wandsworth at night trying to find this bloody battery. Eventually found one that worked. I was like, okay, great, packed the bag. Next morning, I think we're meeting up about mid-afternoon in Wales.
Mm-hmm.
So I had all the time booked off, everything was sorted, bags packed.
Yeah.
In the morning, just having breakfast or whatever, getting ready, turning around, dog's sitting on the floor with his paw up. You know, when they injured their paw, they just sit there. He's looking at me with his paw. I'm like, what are you doing? You know, what happened there? And it's just this mystery. No one knows what happened. But he was just like,
He just didn't want to lose his daddy for
I was
the
like,
weekend.
I can't leave him. I can't leave him. You know, because that was a Friday. I couldn't get a vet's appointment until anyway. So yeah, I had to bail and then follow you guys on the WhatsApp group, having a great time as I was sitting at home nursing the dog.
Yeah, it was the right thing to do, obviously, and we are glad that the dog is better now. It was a phantom limp in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Come Monday,
Little
right?
bastard.
Monday,
right.
fine.
You got to love them, and our furry friends. Yeah. Any other road trips that you managed to escape on? I think you've done a couple. Like I vaguely remember something about the day you bought your 997.
The day I bought my 997. Yes,
or the
that was a
weekend.
road trip. Yeah, that was a spontaneous purchase. I only deal with people that I really trust. So I've got trusted specialists that I work with, and I'll only ever use those specialists. And I tend to take the cars back to those specialists time and time again. So I mean, Jazz is one that I use. You know, Steve Winter, Jazz, awesome. I mean, the guys and Claire there are fantastic. So I take, air-cooled cars go there, and absolutely brilliant. And I think I use Centre Gravity a lot for suspension work. Chris, Holly, and Pete, amazing. Do a lot of stuff with those guys. And then I was introduced to Paragon through this podcast channel. I was thinking, it's Paragon. I was talking about Paragon. And then one Saturday, my Pilates class on a Saturday morning was cancelled. I thought, what should I do? I think the week before, 2 weeks before, you were doing a podcast with Paragon. And I think it was Jay was speaking. He said, yeah, people just pop down and have a chat. I'm like, really? That doesn't sound like a car dealership to me. But I thought, you know what? I'm going to pop down and have a chat and see if this is real. So I went down there and I literally had a chat for hours.
Yeah, for hours.
Hours. And I've been down there several times since. At that time, I ended up buying a GT3, but so quite good at selling. So I'm coming down here. I'm not going to buy a car. Walked out with a deposit on a GT3.
We'll see.
Anyway,
they all say that.
Yeah.
And then, so I took said GT3 for a service early this year. And I've always really, really missed my 996.1 early one. I loved that car, and I had to sell it for various reasons. And I just, Max is always banging on about the 997.1s. I had a 997.2 GTS, which I didn't get on with personally. Wasn't engaging enough for me and my taste. But I always really wanted, to try a 997.1 manual, rear drive, that's my thing, S. Yeah. And literally, I was going to go down there, booked it in for service, the GT3, and it was like a drop Saturday, drop off, hang around, take it home. So they're only minor bits and pieces. And like 2 days before, I looked on their website, and they had this cobalt blue, right, 997.1. They don't tend to stock those cars, and it had a terracotta interior. And I've just got a thing for that colour combo. I've never seen one before. So I phoned Jamie up and I said, Jamie, look, I'm coming in to drop the car off just for a few bits and pieces. Can I just take the car? I'm not going to buy it, but can I just take that for a test drive just to see how it feels? Yeah, sure, no problem. So I came in, dropped the car off. He threw me the keys. And typical Paragon, right? It's wet outside. It's muddy, it's leafy, it's not good. Yeah, take the car out for a spin, and take over 10 minutes. Half an hour later, I come back with this car with a massive grin on my face. I was like, I'm going to phone home.
Yeah. I'm not coming home.
So I ended up putting a deposit down on this car because it's so unique. It's like a unicorn, but I absolutely fell in love with this car. Anyway, so road trip. I went to pick it up the following week. I took my daughter down there because we were going to Bristol at a family event, and I picked up this car and we went to Wales, and then down to Bristol, and back to London. Then I went up to Boxing Gas on the way to the Lake District for to go and see my mum and family holiday. Came back down to London, and I tell you, I did 1,400 miles in 14 days. Absolutely lovely.
Did you manage to get the bread and milk that you popped out for?
But it was great. So part of that was with my daughter, and again, it's about experiences, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Memories,
so there you have those sort of memories, and then just it was great. And I think going to the Lake District where my mum lives, I mean, I love driving up there. Yeah, it's not for everyone, because the roads are very tight. You can't speed up there. You've got sheep around or tractor around any corner. You've got stone walls, right? So you need small cars. You need to know the roads a little bit, and be sensible. But if you've got the right car up there, it's absolutely amazing. So I love going up there. So so for me, that was it. And it was great.
There's some added colour to give to that story. So before you went to look at the 997 at Paragon, you'd obviously it found you through some medium, and I met you because you kindly let me drive your GT3 for a video, and afterwards we went for a coffee, and we sat down, and you said, I'm going to Paragon at the weekend. it's in this car, 997, terracotta interior, blah, blah, blah. And you're saying, I'm going to go and have a look at it. I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it. I haven't said anything at this point.
Yeah.
And, it's already on the defence. I'm not buying it. I'm just going to go and have a look by the Monday.
The ironic thing is, historically, I'm the most considered. I'm a bit like Max, maybe not quite as extreme as Max, but I like to do my research and really think carefully about what I want and look for it. So I'm not a spontaneous buyer, and I've spontaneously bought 2 cars in Paragon in the last year.
Brilliant.
Amazing.
Brilliant. So your loaf of bread run in the 997 was your favourite trip.
Yeah, absolutely. And every time I say to my wife, I'm just popping down Paragon, she said, what? Don't.
Yeah.
No, don't think so.
Nice.
Quality. Absolutely quality. Nick?
Well, I'm not sure I can top that, actually, but given that I had to cancel a lot of trips, I'd say the best trip I never went on was the Norway trip.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, you were down for it.
I was booked. I was ready.
Yeah.
Bags packed. I had to cancel literally the day before.
Yeah.
But you kindly kept me on the WhatsApp group. So in a way, I kind of followed you all the way through. So it was a trip, trip that never happened, which I enjoyed.
Yeah.
So if I can be allowed to go back a little bit, the previous trip was the 996 the anniversary trip to the museum. I know it was the year before, but I thought that's absolutely awesome.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome trip.
That looked awesome. That looked really good.
It did, and of course you repeated it this year. That was just something special.
But that was nice to do because it was all 996s. So it was a bit of a brotherhood going on, There's all these different expressions of the 5th generation 911. It was cool. But we are going to Norway in 2024. So
I gather. I'm up for it. Particularly if you fly there.
Yes, well, we are flying indeed.
Is that confirmed?
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Then I'm on.
Yeah, podcast exclusive. We just need a pilot. How are you at the?
Good. I've got my license back, so you're good. No problem.
Ideal. Yeah, no, it'd be great to have you there, buddy.
I was supposed to be on that trip as well.
You probably were.
That 996 one, I was meant to be on that. I had to cancel that one as well. The family crisis.
Another one.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Road trip for me, I think it's obvious, I just put America. Just think that was incredible.
Yeah.
It looked awesome.
Just encompassing absolutely everything we did. It was really nice to absorb American culture, which we've covered in a podcast this series, and also touch base with friends, people who have become friends over the years. Hadn't been back since COVID, so it's really nice to get back over there. And those connections are best formed when you're in front of people, right?
Yeah.
So that was really special for me.
Nice.
Maybe next time it's on, whenever it is, because it's not regular, is it? We don't know.
4 or 5
We
years.
should do a group trip.
Definitely, there's no reason why we can't do that.
A lot of people up for it.
Yeah. I think as soon as there's a date thrown out there, we shall get on Airbnb. Yeah. So while you guys are tucking into the mince pies, and thanks, Nick, for that. That's superb hospitality. Can we come back next year?
Sure. You're welcome. No problem.
Thank you very much. So next up on our list is Best Individual Drive of 2023. Ooh, what do we think for that?
Yeah, I've got one.
Yeah.
I'll go.
Yeah.
Do you remember first morning when we were in Wales? Mm-hmm. I got up early. I think I was up at 5:30 and skipped out the door and went for a solo drive up the valley. And then I went to I think it's called the Big Pit or something like that. And I just had a momentous little drive by myself. And it was, the first moments of bonding with the SC, going back to that.
Yeah.
And it was just, absolutely epic. The sun was shining in Wales.
Yeah.
I mean, when does that happen?
Yeah.
The skies were bluer than blue.
Wow.
It was fresh. There was nothing on the roads. It was just epic. So, that's my pinnacle moment of the year, is that little drive.
Yeah. I remember I'd gone for a little run.
Yeah, you did, didn't you?
And I was jogging along and saw this G-body car coming towards us. I don't think you had yellow lenses at the time. I think
Only fogs.
Yeah. And as such is the way with like the greenhouse of the old cars, you can really see who's driving, and I could just see your face with a huge grin on it. Honestly,
I was on the way back.
You were clearly buzzing. So like you said, mate, that was probably the first bit of bonding you did with that car, I guess. Yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry, the mince pies.
Yeah,
full.
No, that's great. That's absolutely awesome. Yeah. Great individual drive. Toby, what about you, good sir?
Tricky one. I think the first thing that popped into my mind So I bought this. So for my wife's 50th, I hired this car. So I thought we'd go away for a nice weekend, somewhere nice, romantic, nothing to do with cars.
Silverstone.
Just happens to be near Paragon.
And this was down in Kent somewhere. We're going to a nice place in Kent. Hired this Rolls Royce to go and pick up. Day before, Rolls Royce broke down. Typical, right? I said, damn, I've got this organised. It's my wife's birthday weekend, everything else. I said, what else you got? He said, we've got this, I've got a 911. I was like, okay, let's say that. Thinking, oh my God, she's going to think I've just booked this weekend just to go driving around in Porsches. Turns up, and he said, here's the car, 1970. She said, same year as my birthday. How romantic. I said, yes, that's what I did. I hired a car the same age as you. It just happened to be a Porsche. Anyway, so we drove around this old long hood T, and it was a bit of a rabbly old thing, but it was great. I just loved the experience, and I thought, you know what, I really, really like these older air-cooled cars. So I spoke to Steve Winter at Jazz, and about what types of car to look for, because it's a bit of a minefield, these cars. If you buy wrong, you're going to pay. Anyway, so I found this car, and it was a 69 E, Bahama yellow, been restored, etc. And it wasn't quite running right. So just, spoke to Steve. He had it shipped the car down to Steve to look at, and he said, it's a great car. It just needs to be finished off. And a bit of snagging.
A vague term.
Yeah, and there was quite a lot of snagging to do in this car. But what I didn't really think about was these cars. Of course, you find something wrong with it. You've got to find a part, right? And it takes some time to find that part. Yeah. Meanwhile, the technicians moved on to another car. By the time they go back to your car with that part, they find the next part that needs, to be sourced. So it takes quite a long time. So anyway, this car's been away for quite some time. And then it's ready for pickup, and I think I picked this car up, and it sort of coincided just before the 993 event.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
The Tony Hatter event.
Yeah.
And I was meant to be taking the 993, which was actually, funny enough, similar story. It was waiting on a part, so that was unavailable. So I took the E. And I was thinking, is it going to last? Is it going to last? Is it going to break down? Right? I mean, it hasn't been driven for so many years, this car. And it needs to be driven. And Steve said, you need to put 1,000 miles on this car before Christmas.
Wow.
To really, to get it bedded in.
Yeah.
And I hadn't really driven it that much. So I thought, you know what? Let's just go down to Bournemouth, right? Why not?
Take it out on the wettest day of the year.
It was pouring. Absolutely pouring. Standing water and all the rest of it. And it turned up. And I think on the way down, it was Thomas the Porsche Hunter, right? He was there.
Yeah.
So I think from a previous podcast, the two Norwegian guys, and he jumped in my car. He's big on the old long hoods, etc.
Yeah.
And he was telling me all the history of the car. He was telling me all this stuff about the car. Like, fantastic. And on the way home after was my first proper drive. Okay, it was at night.
Yeah.
But it was just roads empty. Completely empty, no one around, and it drove so nicely. And I thought, you know what? This is just amazing. I loved it. It's just something about the silence and you got the engine, right? But it's just you and the car and the open road. And this is pretty much how it was a Californian car. I could almost imagine the original owner, who I still talk to via email, funny enough, doing the canyon runs, all the stories he was telling me in his car. And it was almost like me,
you could hear
all those years later, doing exactly the same, but just doing it on the M4.
In the pissing rain.
In the pissing rain. Not quite the same, though, is it? There you go.
Amazing.
That's what. So I guess when you something I would like to know is when you're in that drive at the time, you're driving along there, you're saying all the emotions you felt. Does that make the amount of time it was spent on the ramp worth it? Or is that still kind of a bone of contention with you? Nothing obviously to do with Jazz, just it's an old car, right? And it's perhaps proved a little bit more maybe frustrating as an ownership experience than you'd have thought, or what? I'd be keen to know, because I sort of put words in your mouth in a previous podcast.
I knew what I was getting into.
Okay.
I knew those cars you can get into a restoration if you're not careful. Right? You can uncover something which turns into something much more serious. So I knew the car was solid because I had it shipped down before I bought it. I had it shipped down to Steve. He put it on a ramp. He looked at it. I thought, okay, well, Steve Winter himself is telling me this is a good car, right? And the restoration has been done well. It just hasn't been put together, properly by someone who really knows these B series cars. They're like 1 year special, apparently. That's the first year after the short wheelbase. It's the first year of long wheelbase. It keeps the mechanicals hanging over, and then from 70 onwards, the C series onwards, it's different. So that was a 1 year Californian special car. So you have to know how they're put together. Apparently, I've learned since. So it's just a case of a lot of snagging. So for me, it would be nice to have it done quicker, but I understand, why it takes, you have to do it right, and you have to take your time. If you rush it, then you end up with something which is not going to be what I want.
Yeah. Right? And maybe that contributed to how awesome that felt to drive the car back from Porsche Bournemouth that night.
Yeah.
Yeah,
exactly.
And you're starting to get the feeling that it's not going to break down on you. Something that's reliable, and you're bonding with it and getting trust in it. You're starting to trust it, and that's a really good feeling.
I mean, my wife thinks I'm weird because I say I've got a relationship with a car. She doesn't understand. How can you have a relationship with a car?
Of course you do. Yeah.
But actually, part of that process, for me, the sort of searching for a car, the buying a car, is a start of a relationship. Right? But then having it mechanically checked over by people that you trust, who I mentioned earlier, and having them turn around and say, actually, it's really good, but you could do X, Y, Z. Do you want to? And then going through that journey of just having it tuned to how I like to drive my cars actually helps me bond with it more because I understand the car more.
Yeah.
It's all part of the journey. And I'll tell you what, it's been awesome since I picked it up. I've done 700 miles in it now in just a few weeks, and through biblical rain and all the rest of it. And it's absolutely, perfect.
Lovely.
Well, not perfect.
There's always something.
There's always something,
perfect.
but
Exactly.
Bonding.
Yeah, nice.
Nick, what about yourself?
Yeah, so
Individual
I
drive.
haven't had many opportunities this year, but I must say the memorable one was when I went to Goodwood Revival, which in itself is a fantastic event, as we know. But, every time I go from here to Goodwood, which I've been many times, my sat-nav does the usual M25, A3, but then as you come off, every time he takes me down a different route, which is, I don't know how he does that, but fantastic. So this time I really thoroughly enjoyed it. It was my first time getting out in the 996, Petersfield, and you'll know all the
great roads.
Yeah.
All
And the
over
weather
the
was
South Downs.
stunning. It was that very, very hot weekend, as it happens.
Yeah.
So that was a very memorable drive.
Lovely.
Want to try and repeat that, of course.
Yeah. There's
My
some good roads on
996
those South
itself,
Downs.
I've got Scott at Barnsport, who's kind of adopted the car from day one. He comes here, or he used to come here for mobile servicing. When I first bought it, he did the whole check. And we've got a checklist I'm going through with him. We're just basically replacing what needs doing. I'm less into modding, certainly not this car, so I want it back as stock. But we'll talk about the center of gravity suspension at some point. But slowly, I want a car that's totally reliable.
Yeah.
So all the components are being changed as required. So it's nice to have a car that you can jump into and know it's solid.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I'm a firm believer in upkeep with maintenance.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Nothing worse than deferred maintenance.
Yeah, I don't miss anything, which is fantastic.
Definitely best to be proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My individual drive, so I don't like to go, well, I've got two, but I have got two, and I'm finding it very difficult to split. So I want to go one that's professional and one that's personal. So my professional favourite drive of the year individual drive was the driving the millionth 911.
Oh, yeah.
Wow.
Just because I think of what that meant as a Porsche journalist, in some aspects a Porsche historian, as I've touched on in the podcast before, what that car signifies and what it means to the company. To be able to drive that was very cool. But I guess from a personal point of view, I was given a 930 Turbo from the good guys at Macalos Classics in San Diego. Shout out to those guys. legendary. They're just basically, excuse me, amazing kindness. Gave me a car to just drive. I was with Laura at the time. This is before Max flew out, and we began working and taking pictures and videos and whatnot. Laura and I were just sightseeing, and they gave us this 77 turbo, I think it was, or 76. I think it was 76. First year they were allowed in the States, and 4-speed non-intercooler. It's literally my favourite 911 turbo of all time was that car. Complete luck, and I've just got warm memories of driving down PCH with Laura, who's not really fussed on cars at all. I'm really not fussed on air-cooled cars as it goes. Very quick to point out that there's not a lot of room for ladies or anybody with longer legs. You can't really stretch out in an air-cooled car. They that bulkhead kind of comes along pretty early doors, doesn't it? But that was so special. I think I definitely enjoyed that more than Laura. But it was nice to have that, and there was no work required. Very lucky to drive these cars, but obviously there has to be an end product, whether it's a magazine article or a video. So that was just outrageous luck. I think I was one of the luckiest people on planet Earth that day, to be honest. So very
nice
cool.
Drives,
very, very
nice.
special drive for me. Right, biggest surprise. Anybody want to jump in?
Yeah, I think I'd like to jump in on that one. It's the Dakar, actually. I know it was last year's car in a sense, but clearly it's this year we start seeing them on the road.
Yeah.
And I think I was a bit like Lee before, slightly not sure what it was all about. And having seen one in the flesh, which I did earlier, I thought it looked better than it did in the photographs, which is good, because I'm not normally a fan of these add-on black,
the all-roady type bits,
I'm just not a fan of those. But on the Dakar, they've got it absolutely right. So personally, that was a bit of a surprise for me, how good it really was.
Yeah.
And of course, in reading about the drives now, people driving them, they really are fantastically made, aren't they?
It's funny because I can't recall another 911 that has divided opinion so much.
Marmite.
Everybody's got an opinion on it.
Yeah.
And they are all over the shop. And more crucially, I think people are coming round to it. I am coming round to it, but some people are completely converted, haven't driven it, or haven't seen it like you have, Nick, like you were saying. Quite a compelling argument.
Do you know what?
storming
I was
forward.
listening to our podcast from last year, doing the same as we're doing now, the review of last year, and your surprise was the Dakar.
What, that Porsche had done it?
That had done it, that actually happened, yeah. And I think you were very enthusiastic about it back then.
Yeah.
So it's quite interesting, isn't it? How your
how
views
things
are
change.
changing a little bit. Yeah.
I've heard it before, like what I think, but that's like,
Yeah.
it's interesting that it's taking you to see one and be like, actually,
Yeah.
I kind of like that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Although so it's a bit ironic at the moment, because those people who've got one, drive one, perfectly made as a daily, certainly for our roads, because we don't have the big mountains and fields.
Yeah.
But we've got the roads that
potholes and
substitute potholes. It just seems ironic from a pricing point of view for a Porsche. That is a very expensive vehicle, relatively speaking.
Yeah.
Which is sort of contrary to a daily. If it was a daily, the pricing may be a bit more, let's say, a bit more mainstream.
Yeah.
That's interesting. But I'm pretty sure there'll be some offshoots of this.
I think
given
you're
the
right,
success
yeah.
of the Dakar itself, they'll be doing some
Trim
some
level
other
rather than
I think
whole
so.
project.
I think so. Yeah, but
Yeah. We shall see.
sorry, my wife's here.
No, you're all
That's
good.
all right.
Cool. I don't mind diving in with my biggest surprise of 2023 was generally the setup at 9WERKS.
Oh, yeah.
So you'd been there last year,
Yeah.
Andy.
Yeah.
Max and I hadn't, so we'd turned up, and obviously I've seen a fair bit of them in the media. They'd been in Total 911 magazine. Kyle had reviewed what was the 400R prototype at the time.
Yeah.
Obviously now morphed into what we know as the coupe. But I was astounded with the setup there, not only with the size of it, but also, and I've said this on the podcast, just how open the guys there were. None of this, you can't shoot this. We'd prefer if you didn't ask that. It was point and shoot, do what you like. Take
We're
this
an open book.
speedster, don't come back till you've hit the red line. Amazing. We need more people like 9WERKS in this industry, I think. Yeah, without a doubt, that was phenomenal. And to see how they have productionized that concept is nothing short of phenomenal.
Yeah. Impressive
Very cool.
place, isn't it?
Very, very, very cool. Biggest surprise without a doubt.
No, nice. Good.
What
Like
about
that.
you, Toby?
I had the Dakar
Ooh.
down, similar, specifically the pricing.
Right.
The price of the Dakar for me was it's very expensive.
Yeah.
Yeah, for what it seems to be.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think also your feedback, I think, Lee, you said, I mean, you made a point, right? You'd expect it to be designed for UK roads, but maybe it's not actually got the compliance for the UK roads. Maybe with a bit of tweaking, I'm sure it can be, sorted out. But yeah, so that was a big surprise. The other one was the ST when it came out. Yeah, we've been talking about the ST, we've been hearing about an ST, and it came out to absolutely stellar reviews. So again, probably not surprised that it appeared, but I was surprised at just the huge amount of appreciation this car got straight away out of the box. And I think it was Water Roll. Yep. He said it was the best car. He was glowing about it, right? And he doesn't tend to, he's not a marketing guy, right?
No,
he says
true.
it how he is, but he was absolutely, in awe of this car from what I understand. So, and for such a big car, they seem to really have nailed the brief. And to be able to make a car like that in today's world, amazing, fantastic. And that for me was a surprise that they can actually make cars like that today.
Bang on. Fantastic context there, Toby, because other cars going down the EV route and Porsche are still banging out highly emotive, naturally aspirated engines with crazy red lines and everything else. That's a fantastic point.
Mine was another self-centric one, which was another Wales. It all seems to go back to Wales, doesn't it? And that was being able to keep up with 991 Turbo S's and 992 Turbo S's in a 45-year-old car. How the hell is that capable? How does that work?
It's all down to the driver, obviously.
Well, I must have been pedalling well, yeah.
Could you pat Andy on the back for us, please, Toby? Just so there
Exactly.
But yeah, how can it's inconceivable that something that is 45-year-old, even though it's had it's a good car, how can that happen?
Well, what types of roads were you driving?
Wales roads,
right.
So little back roads, but it's epic, absolutely
I think,
epic.
But you can drive. I think a smaller, lighter, more agile, more nimble car, versus they're big cars.
Point to point, I agree.
Yeah, on the right roads, I reckon. Absolutely great driving inside.
But take any other 45-year-old car, and try and get it to do that. It just wouldn't happen. So that's my surprise, is that a Porsche that's 45-year-old can achieve that when nothing else can even get close to it.
What I would say to that is like you were driving like your hair was on fire, having great fun, but sensible speeds, really semi-sensible speeds. The capabilities, particularly these modern Turbo S's, is absolutely ludicrous. So like if the guys were driving emotively like you were, like their hair was on fire, the pace that they would be doing would be scary. Do you know what I mean? So like I think it says something for an older car, less power, less weight, and more point to point. Like there's so much in that Turbo S arsenal. The issue is it's being able to deploy it and when to deploy it. Do you know what I mean? So it's like your 10 tenths is going to be their 6 tenths or whatever it is. Do you know what I mean? But it raises a really good point of who's having more fun.
Oh yeah,
generally, you know.
Who's having more fun and who's engaged more in that particular drive. But if you're doing long distance, you don't want to be engaged that much, right? Because you'd be too tiring. But if you're going out and having fun, you can have a lot of fun in a slower car.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
definitely.
Maybe it should be the surprise of the eyes that were looking in the rearview mirror. That there was. I was there all day.
Unshakable
long.
Brooksy, just going nowhere. He's there.
Brilliant.
100%. What was your best car driven then, Andy?
Oh,
You're not allowed
my
to say
God.
your SC.
No, I'm not going to say that. No, I've got quite a good list this year.
The nominations are.
Jeez, yeah. God, which is the most? I didn't drive it for that long, but the one that really sort of sticks in my mind as what an absolute shitting beast it is 997 GT2 RS that Nigel let me drive.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Again, it goes back to turbos. Last year I would have talked about the roof turbo. And I put myself down as a normally aspirated guy as far as driving cars. But yeah, again, that car just amazingly raw and so quick and on the edge of everything. It's that was something that really sticks in my mind.
That's a proper car.
It is. It's mental. So I think I'm going to just about stick with that. But other notables were obviously the 914 from 1511 that we drove just the other week. That was pretty amazing. The speed of that thing, the noise of it was just fantastic. Felt so good. Cam Manufacturers 912C, what a hoot that was. But yeah, I think I'm going to come back to that GT2 because that was really kind of surprising. Maybe that should have been my surprising point actually, and how much I liked that. But yeah, I'll stick with that as my best car driven this year.
The bar has been set.
Great choice.
What are you saying, Toby?
Well, luckily I do have a GT experience in there.
Yeah.
I'm a huge fan of the 996 platform, massive fan. And I bought said GT3 from Paragon, so the 996.2 GT3. And I'll be honest, I didn't get on with it. So, I mean, I do like to mod my cars a little bit, but I like to, not so mod them, I like to dial them in.
Yeah.
You know, I think, all Porsches are fantastic for dialing in for what you want. And it wasn't quite doing it for me, particularly on B roads. Yeah, it's very hard. Right? And, because it didn't have the compliance, it would then skip because it would lose the contact patch, etc. And I took it on a track day, Thruxton. So Porsche Club GB do these intro to track days. I shouldn't talk these up because all the places will go. But I mean, it's like, was it? I've just written it down here. So I think it's £385 for Porsche Club member. You go to Thruxton and you have instructors there all day long. They limit the number of cars and you just go round and round and round in batches, and you have instructors with you as much as you want all day. Right? And it's just really, 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 really good. So I took it out at Thruxton. Great. It's like, this is what this car's designed for, but it's crap on UK roads.
Yeah.
So I went back to Centre of Gravity. We did lots of work on my previous 996. They absolutely nailed it with the bespoke setup. So again, Chris is like, yeah, no problem. Yeah, we can put a bespoke setup, a Toby Dyer spec GT3. So they changed all the springs and damper settings, etc. And I said it's about flow. I want flow. I don't really fighting the car down B roads. I want flow and I want a level of compliance. But I just love that feel to the steering wheel. That 996, the steering feels just lovely in those cars. And then I drove it, and it was amazing. It was like, oh my God, you absolutely nailed the brief again. This car is now really, really good on B roads. Right? It's got that flow. It's not skipping around. You don't fight it. And I took it back to Thruxton again and to do back-to-back compares. It was amazing around the track. Right? So for me, that was the best. The 996.2 GT3, but with the centre of gravity setup on it.
Yeah.
I mean, what a car. What a car.
That's quite a pleasing answer, really. It seems from the outside, because it's substantial investment. Not just buying the car, but then perfecting the GO and time up at centre of gravity and whatnot. You've put a lot into it, so that's really nice to hear that has all been completely worth it again, and you've been rewarded handsomely with how that drives. Now that makes you feel when you drive it.
Feel. Right? And that, for me, is all about what these cars are. Is about engagement and how they make you feel. Everybody's after different things. But I know what I like now after playing around with lots of cars. To get a car where you just feel connected and you feel part of the car and you've got that relationship with the car, magic.
Yeah.
Right? That's where the magic is.
Yeah, without a doubt. Awesome, Toby. Awesome. Nick?
I'm going to go out at a tangent here for reasons mentioned. I haven't had much chance to drive many cars this year, but and on this podcast, at the risk of putting my head in the lion's mouth. So there's a company called Everati who make electric classic cars. Okay, so just bear with me while I tell you this. And for us, it's a no-no in that sense. Certainly, a classic car with why would you rip out a beautiful, engine and etc. Anyway, the owner convinced me to have a test drive, which I did not so many months ago. It looks, they've got their one in, it's a 964 in the Gulf livery, yeah. And you get in it. So they've done a lot of engineering in as much as one of the problems with these electric cars is a weight distribution and all the usual stuff. But they've really gone back to basics and done the weight distribution in virtually the same way as an original petrol engine car would be. So the battery is not just plonked elsewhere. So in the handling, you can tell. Not that I've driven many 964s, but, enough. But what kind of, not convinced me enough to buy one, but I really enjoyed it, is they've also managed to bring in sound, an engine sound from your phone on the app, but more so, a little bit of vibration. There's physical vibration behind you. You forget there's a electric engine or electric motor in there. Mm-hmm. You almost at times think, when you're mesmerized when you're going around bends or whatever, you think it's a real engine, real as in, ICE engine in the back. Yeah. So that's quite so in a sense, I kind of enjoyed that. Not enough to buy one. It's costly, huge cost. But it was kind of, eye-opener in a sense to see what can be done.
Yeah. It's certainly pioneering in picking an EV. I wonder, does the car deposit small amounts of oil on your drive as well for like the quintessential 964 experience?
I'm sure with technology you can build that in. I am sure that's possible. You can sit in your house and press a button and it'll soil your garage floor. Of course.
Yeah, just like the real thing. Exactly. My best car driven, just to finish this question off.
Oh, sorry, mate.
That's all good.
I apologise.
All good. So, okay, sort of two, quick one. The best 911 I've ever driven, even prior to the America trip, was the SharkWorks GT3 RS 4.1. Alex at SharkWorks kindly let me drive another one over there. They're the latest one in their build, and it has only rammed that point home evermore. It's just the best car I think you can hope to drive with a Porsche badge on the front. There's a video coming on that, so I won't give too much more colour to that just yet. So I think for this year, really, then I will go with the 992 RS. Actually, and much like what you guys were saying with your best drives could also be biggest surprise. That car for me was an unbelievable surprise. As soon as it came out, you judge it on looks, hated it. Mm. Still at this point, I'm struggling to get over the wing. Certainly struggled to see over it, but still kind of struggling with that. Felt really self-conscious getting into the car. Thought I would be when driving it, certainly. Andy, I took you out for a quick skiz and kind of felt that to a degree. But ultimately, when you get in, that car is so mesmerising in the way that car delivers performance. You're not worried about how you look. You don't care. Couldn't be further from your mind, actually. And again, yes, it's a very overt, outlandish thing to look at. But again, it's built as all the great Porsches are. Is your function will find its form, and I think that is epitomised with that car completely. Yeah. And just its directional changes, its power delivery, the aerodynamics on that car are outrageous. Again, I'm going to do a video. You're going to get more of it, but you can feel the aerodynamics in play. It's ludicrous. With the 991s, you have to be going way north of 100 to start feeling that. With the 992, you don't. Again, I'll go into that more in the video. But again, I thought this is going to be a waste of time driving this on the road. I loved it. Didn't want to hand it back.
Even on the UK roads?
Even on UK roads. Fantastic. And actually, Andy and I were talking about it. We felt the 992 RS was better damped for UK roads at slow speeds than a GT3 Touring.
Absolutely.
992.
Controversial.
Okay,
really?
That's controversial, but that is a fact, isn't it?
Yeah.
So
and we were going down the same sort of roads that had been in the Touring as well.
Yeah.
So the RS is more usable.
You would not believe a 525 horsepower RS with 860 kilos of maximum downforce and a radiator in the boot to be more practical, but yes.
Wow.
Essentially, yeah.
Whoa.
Honestly, it is unbelievable. When the car came out, I hated it. When I handed the keys back, I was in tears. Loved it.
Oh, brilliant.
So that's that for me. We shall crack on.
Yeah.
Best podcast episode.
Tough.
Shall I go?
Yes.
Yeah, go for it, Nick.
I love all of them, by the way. Not just
He's a good helper.
they're all best.
Thank you.
But actually, when I think back, it was just Jethro Bovingdon one,
Yeah.
which I really enjoyed. I learned so much. I mean, what can you do to a 996? You know,
Yeah.
I thought there were limitations, right? So, you know, so that I thought was thoroughly enjoyed listening
Ace.
to that. Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
I think that's still, is it our highest?
Comfortably our most listened to
it?
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah.
I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. Be good to get Jethro on again sometime.
Yeah.
He said he would, didn't he?
He did, yeah. It's
Yeah.
much unfinished.
Lovely guy. Lovely guy. Yeah, great choice.
Yeah.
Toby?
So I had to scroll through all the episodes.
There's so many,
Start
aren't
of
there?
the year. There's a lot. You
Yeah.
guys do a lot. Yeah, you work hard. 1, 2, 3. Number 1 was Jethro, so I won't
Yeah,
go
yeah.
there again. But that was very good. Number 2 and 3, I couldn't decide between Le Mans Inside Secrets, Ben Barker. What a guy.
Yeah, that's a great
What a
episode.
guy, and the amount of time that he spent, with you on that one, I thought was really, really good. Loved that one. The insights and the stories, that was fantastic. And of course, the Mike Brewer Wheeler Dealers episode. I love that one.
Yeah.
He was. He surprised me. He really
Yeah.
surprised me. He doesn't come across as a Porsche file.
He doesn't, does he?
No, on
No.
TV.
Yeah.
And then when you get him going, well, in
Oh
fact,
my
you don't
God,
have to
yeah.
wind him up much, right?
Nah,
You
no.
just mention, Porsche, and he's off. And
Yeah.
the great stories. What a guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, fantastic guy. Massively passionate about his cars and about his industry as well.
Yeah.
After all these years, top guy. Great choices in there. Ben, I think for 2024, because the RSR is not racing in FIA GT anymore, it's the GT3R now. I think Ben is going to be racing in the other prancing horse for next year. But we would still very much like to visit Small Town Coffee as we did in the summer and do an event of some description there. But yeah, I think you're right. It was lovely, wasn't it, for a driver to tell us what it's like from the other side of that car door when the lights go
That was
out.
great.
Yeah. It was a good episode, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah. God, it's so difficult to pick, but I'm going to go detail orientated for my episode, and that was Will PTRS.
I had that on my shortlist.
Yeah, I just loved that episode, and it was so in depth, and Will's knowledge is unbounded. It's just outrageous.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed talking to Will, and I think it was a real excellent episode. It really sort of stood up.
It's mine as well for the
Oh, is
same
it?
reasons.
Really,
It's a proper
yeah.
geek out. And actually,
Yeah.
because Will is East Coast, we had East Coast United States, we had to do the podcast in quite late in the evening.
We did, didn't we?
And,
Yeah.
and it just didn't matter. Everybody was so chuffed to keep having this conversation.
Yeah.
I think we wound up at like 11 o'clock at night.
Yeah, it was
UK
late on, wasn't
time.
it? Yeah.
But it was just a privilege to chat to someone that loves these cars and this world as much as we do. So yeah, same.
Yeah.
Same. So penultimate question is best mod. If we've done any, I haven't, but I don't know, Nick.
Well, I had a hard think about this. As I said earlier, I'm not into modding in that sense per se. Although, ironically, my Alfa Romeo, I'm modding to the nth degree, but that's a separate subject. So I am into modding in that sense, but not yet into. I guess I don't know if this counts as a mod, but I had to change the exhaust system on the 996. It's rusting at the seams, usual stuff. So I've gone for a Design Tech switchable one.
Yeah.
On Scott's
On the fob, is
recommend-
that?
Sorry.
On a fob, is it switchable on the key fob?
No, it's on the dashboard.
Oh, okay,
original button, as it were. So, yeah, and that I must say did change the sound
Yeah.
just enough. I mean, it's not blaring, not wake the neighbours up much, but
Just
that's
the right.
the nearest mod.
That's a
in
good
that
one.
sense.
That's it.
Yeah,
It's a
it's
great one. I
enjoyable.
bet your neighbours love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
So
So I really enjoying driving that
Nice.
or listening to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've heard good things of that.
And I'm sure I've got another 10 brake horsepower or something as a result, or it feels like it.
I always think like an exhaust, first and foremost, it's like an emotive experience. And then if you get anything power-wise from it, it's a bonus, but shouldn't be. And unless you're quarter miling, shouldn't be like your number one thing,
No,
really.
sure.
But
Yeah.
excellent.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I've done the Danks mod exhaust on my car. And that's, really like that. It's just nice.
Is that your best mod?
No, it's not. But I'd forgotten that I had done that mod, and it's it's a nice mod on the SC.
Yeah.
Really good.
And what is your best mod?
Best mod is my Renshift. Really pleased with that, and thank you, Lee, for convincing me that it was.
That's good.
You were debating that.
Oh, I
weren't you?
debated
In,
so
out, in,
hard,
out.
in and out. Yeah. Nearly didn't happen, did happen. Yeah, it was. Yeah, but well pleased with that. Really pleased.
Cracking.
Yeah.
Absolutely cracking.
There's a discount code on our DNHC. If you 10% off.
Yeah,
Just
good
saying.
shout. Very good shout.
Brilliant.
Very good shout. Toby, best mod?
You've not done any this year?
I haven't, to be fair. No, I've got down best mod as, depending on what way you look at it, PS5s, because I just think they're fantastic tyres and will transform. I was having this chat to Neil Blakemore at RPM the other week, sticking on brand new tyres. It does improve the performance of your car in the context of versus, old technology tyres. So I would say that they are phenomenal, although not N-rated, but is really not an issue, guys and girls. Otherwise, my luggage set for the 40th anniversary. I don't know if that's a mod, but it's an addition. So yeah, it's been quiet for me for mods this year. Yeah, just been chasing rabbits, I think, that then fall down holes in terms of problems. So yeah, that's it for me. Yeah, what about you?
Suspension. Has to be.
For the 996?
For the 996, the GT3. I mean, as I said, for me, it's about having that connection with the car. Yeah, but feeling one, again, it sounds rubbish. My wife's going to laugh when she hears this. Feeling at one with the car, right? I think, it's the touch points. Right? The touch points, steering wheel, gear shift, seats, really important. But how a car rides on the roads that you drive on with the style that you drive in, and getting it dialed in for that is so important, I think. It can turn a car. I mean, when I got my 996.1, had MO30 on it, hated it. I really didn't like that car.
Yeah.
I took up the centre of gravity. We did, a number of things. Couldn't get it right. I said, all right, if you can't fix this, I'm going to sell the car. He said, give me one more go. We'll do a bespoke setup on it. Did that. And it was like, oh my God, you've transformed this car into something that I can really feel and enjoy. And it's got that flow for me. 996 GT3, again, too hard. And I didn't, for the roads that I drive on, broken roads in Sussex, etc. Not fun. And then again, took it to Chris, and he said, "Okay, let me work, do my stuff on it. I can dial it in for exactly what you want." Transforms it, right? Yeah. So for me, getting a car dialed in with the right suspension is so important. And so for me, absolutely, without a doubt, centre of gravity, suspension, number one.
Highlights, yes. Your highlight.
Okay, I don't mind jumping in quickly on that then. My highlight of the year was going to the States. I know I covered it slightly earlier, but just going with you boys, looking at you and Max and you Andy and Max as well. I just think doing the podcast, there's a bigger picture to it. There's a lot of time going into everything. And in and amongst all of that, I've really enjoyed becoming really good friends with you, like more good friends with you, and also Max as well. And I think for me, the States was kind of the culmination of what has been a really nice friendship made through cars over the past few years. So there was, I think I mentioned it over breakfast, I think on the last morning, just saying, we're in Monterey, we're here because of cars, which is ridiculous. Yeah. And it's really nice to have had that whole experience with two outstanding friends. So that was my highlight.
I'm going to tear up. I don't think you're nearly tearing up.
So I've been chopping some onions there, but no. As a people person, I thought that was outstanding.
Marvellous. Mine's from the same trip, but it's not you, mate. Sorry. We had a 45-minute, 50-minute conversation with the world famous Jerry Seinfeld. So that was pretty much a highlight of the year, and it was so interesting. And somebody that's so, I don't want to call him famous. Infamous is more, he's quite, he's up there, isn't he? With somebody that's not only in the sort of comedic world, but also in the Porsche world. He's got so much
clout.
Clout in it, and that he gave, mostly to you, as in, he wanted to meet you because of the videos. But I was very lucky to have sort of tagged along and seen his humility and his just a normal guy, and really enjoyed that. It was an amazing thing to do, to sit there and have just a little chat, like we're having a chat now. It's no different. Absolutely, it was just totally normal. Never felt that he looked down on us or felt that he was superior in any way. He was just a really lovely man.
Very surreal. that whole experience.
Yeah.
I don't know how you feel about it. I just found the whole thing quite surreal.
I don't know. I think you said that, I felt that you thought that I was kind of relaxed there, and I did feel really relaxed, and that's what I really liked about it, was that I did feel relaxed in his company.
Yeah.
And just enjoyed it as a nice chat.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was cool.
Fantastic. I was a bit more nervous, but I think it's because we were in Porsche hospitality without the correct passes.
Yes. We did manage to flag that. Yeah.
Joey, you can stay. You guys get out.
Yeah.
It wasn't
You
far
get rid of
wrong
this
from that.
fodder. This British fodder. Yeah. Cracking.
Funny.
Toby, highlight of the year?
In a way, similar. It's just the community. Honestly, for me, just the amount of people doing stuff.
Yeah.
The whole 9WERKS, the whole DNHC, the groups around that. But there's other people, right? I mean, you've got people like Andy Gregory.
Yeah.
Top man.
Go south.
Top
I think
man.
that's
I
absolutely
really
amazing
want to
what he's
get
doing.
down to one of his things. I just haven't. Each weekend it doesn't work. It's a bit like, your issues. I've been having the same with Andy's
You can't
things. I
fit
just
it all in.
can't get to them.
But now you've got Andre, who's now set up, the Legends
Same,
Drivers
yeah.
Club.
Yeah.
Amazing, right? But also if you speak to them, they're all very wanting to do this together. Right? They don't want to step on each other's toes, and they're trying to choose dates and venues which doesn't overlap with someone else. So everyone's trying to be very complementary, and that's that sort of community, that collaboration, the whole feel of wanting to build something together. Is amazing. Right?
Yeah.
And then you go to these things and you see similar people.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
you can build sort of, long-term relationships with people, right? But again, for me, it's the relationships with the cars, the people, the community. And so for me, this year, I think has been fantastic. I think there's been a lot more this year, and I'm looking forward to next year already. And maybe even some events. I know Andre's doing some with Legends over the winter, but looking forward to it.
Wholeheartedly agree with that.
Nick?
Yeah, so I mean, apart from echoing what Toby said, this whole 9WERKS group is just phenomenal. The way it's grown this year, I mean, can't keep up with the messages sometimes, but
Don't try.
That's a good sign, isn't it?
Yeah.
The subgroups, that's you can see is real biting point you guys have reached, which is starting to get real momentum. So that's fantastic to see, and for us to have been early pioneers with you is just icing on the cake, isn't it?
Yeah, thank you, guys.
But specific highlight was going to Goodwood Revival this year. I hadn't been for many, many years, and it's really changed. Phenomenal to see virtually 90% of the attendees in period clothing and stuff. That in itself is surreal. But within that, this year, I'm sure they have it every year, they had the early 911 Cup Series.
That was great, wasn't it?
And for the first time, I watched every minute, every second of 3 races or whatever it was. That was just phenomenal. And then going in the paddocks to see these cars, these 911s, were just fantastic. Just couldn't. I had a friend with me who was not into cars. He could not get why I was drooling over these early 911s. Just could not understand it, a bit like you. So, that's a real highlight. And it's about the people.
Highlight.
Yeah.
Good one.
Absolutely.
Wouldn't it be great if we had more kids go? I've just seen it's 6:15, so I'll skip that bit. Yeah.
No, I wasn't saying. We've got another 5-10 minutes if you want to carry on.
I think we're pretty much there anyway. I think,
sure.
aren't we?
Yeah.
We've just got highlight. No, we've done highlight.
What, next
Done
year?
highlights.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So next year I will.
Next year I will.
Next year I will.
European road trip for me.
Okay.
That's it. It's going to happen. I think last year it was do more stuff in like a road trip in my car.
Yeah.
I did that to Wales, but this year it's going to be European.
Okay.
So definitely hitting the European highway.
Yes.
Getting my left-hand drive SC.
Yeah.
Boom.
Yeah. It'll come into its own.
Indeed.
And, regardless of what side the steering wheel's on. Yeah. 100%.
Yeah.
Great move. Great move. Toby.
Easy for me. Actually get on a 9WERKS road trip. I've signed up to three, and I've had to cancel all 3 for family reasons. So next year I'm going to sign up and actually go. There you go.
Brilliant.
It's both recorded, guys, by
the way.
Yeah. I think for me next year I just want to do everything I've missed this year, literally. It's going to go flat out next year. I'll be in every event, every road trip if possible. So that's a big one for me next year. Catching up on time, lost time.
Yeah.
And hopefully to buy a 993S next year.
Ooh,
That's
hello.
on my,
Strapping on the buying
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
The sort of-
Really?
the infamous Beckham car, as it were, So
Yeah.
that's the model that.
You got your
I
eye
need
on
to do
so-
my
is there
homework.
a-
No, not yet. Not yet.
Not
I might
yet.
just pop into Paragon if my gym class is cancelled one day. And I'll
Dangerous. I've got warning you, dangerous.
I know.
Don't go with Toby.
Yeah, exactly.
You two will never leave.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, that's hopefully a full-on year next year with you guys.
Wicked. Sounds
Awesome.
great. Looking forward to it, Nick. My next year I will is to take the anniversary on a road trip. Kind of similar to what you guys were saying,
Yeah.
really. Would have loved to have done it this year. Didn't quite work out. I'd like to get it PPF'd at the front first before I do. But I figure if I was to ever sell that car without going on a road trip, it'd be like going to the Yankee Stadium without watching the baseball.
Yeah.
So I want to,
yeah,
I want to do
Follow.
it and do it justice, really.
Yeah.
PPF
Cool.
is an interesting one. I was not a fan, or why do people spend so much money on PPF? Yeah, and then when I got my GT3, Jamie was like, "Do you want to PPF it?" I was like, "Not really." He said, "It's got really good paint." I was thinking, "Not sure." And I spoke to the guys who did it, and then they sort of, sold me on trying it. I thought, well, you know what? I'm going to give it a go. I'm spending a lot of money on this car. It's very low mileage. It's got good paint. Let's just do it. What it gives you is freedom. You can drive along and hear stones coming up and not care, and actually keep on putting your foot down, as opposed to in a car
Jeez,
with no protection. You hear those stones coming up and you
ease
back off.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I think PPF actually really helps. I think give you more freedom with your car. So I think it's a good idea. You should definitely do that.
Yeah. I think we'll wrap it up here for 9WERKS TV and the visual side of the podcast. So before we do go, just want to say thanks to everybody watching and commenting this year, good and bad. And again, just thank you to Nick and to Toby for your support of the whole kind of Driven Not Hidden collective. That kind of whole fabric of that has really emanated from you two and your enthusiasm. So thank you sincerely.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. And we'll go and get a curry now, shall we?
Yes.
Sure, let's do it.
Let's do it.